So, Archetypes of Women in Recovery, I had a really fun time creating this because I was like, dang, I feel like I see the same 10 or so archetypes every single time I meet someone who steps into this recovery space. I've worked with literally over 1,000 women at this point through this whole recovery journey, whether that's healing your relationship to food, having better body confidence, getting over the fear of food, anxiety with food, control over food, or getting your period back. Wait, I gotta move this here so I can invite people in. There you go. And I feel like in this journey of working with so many women, again, the same archetypes show up. But the only problem with this is that only one of the archetypes leads to full recovery. And when I say full recovery, I mean actually like getting your period back, having a beautiful relationship with food, feeling grounded and confident in your body, like only one out of the 10. And what I've noticed and seen is that women will get really stuck in the recovery process because they are blocked by the archetype that they are in and they don't understand the one archetype that they need to start embodying to actually get there. So if I can get a little like yes in the chats, if we are here to heal our relationship to food, to feel better in our body, I want to get like a little yes if that is you. And we're gonna dive in. Okay, I need to move my screen here though, so I can actually see you guys. Okay, so how do I move this? Oh, I can move this over here. I love that. All right, the first archetype that we have is the entitled little girl. This is an archetype that I see a lot. It is very common in the recovery space. The entitled little girl thinks that recovery should be effortless, comfortable, and like tailored exactly to her preferences without any discomfort or personal responsibility. The entitled little girl expects immediate results, and she pretty much will just like do one thing. She'll eat one fear food, she'll skip one workout, and she thinks that she should now be recovered and is constantly complaining that she is not there yet. And usually what I see is she's complaining that other girls have gotten there. So I see it a lot with like, but she has it, but she did this and she already has her period back. So it's a lot of just like entitlement of I should already be there. But the thing is that the entitled little girl, and I want you guys to think as I go through all of these archetypes, where do I fit in? Because you'll probably fit in 1 to 3, maybe even 4 of these archetypes. So the entitled little girl doesn't want to get her nails dirty. She thinks that recovery should just come easily to her and therefore doesn't put in a lot of effort into the whole process. She will throw a tantrum when she is pushed to think differently and take accountability for the fact that she's not doing anything to improve her situation. She will spend her days listening to recovery podcasts and think that that is enough and that that's recovery. And I know a lot of you girls do that, is thinking that, oh, if I just listen to this, I'm around recovery content, now I should be recovered. In all reality, the little girl has little patience. She has zero perseverance. Um, I hear this all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm bloated. I can't take this. And it's like the second you're bloated, the second you go through an uncomfortable situation with food or in your body, it's like it gives you the quote unquote permission to just like go back in to your disordered behaviors. So she doesn't have the perseverance to stick with it. So this mindset keeps her stuck in disordered life by prioritizing short-term comfort over long-term freedom. In reality, if you're here in recovery trying to heal your relationship with food, it's going to demand growth, resilience, and a willingness to face discomfort. And entitlement tells them that they shouldn't have to do any of that, aka she shouldn't have to do the hard work. The real healing only happens though when you do the work. So with every single archetype, I'm going to be sharing with you. I got to invite some new people in. There you go. I'm going to be sharing with you the success rate for these girls. So the success rate for the entitled little girl is very low because she will find herself crying over and over again about her position, but nothing, like do nothing to change it. And she will often complain to her bestie that they are doing it all and nothing is happening and that it's unfair. But in all reality, she just isn't actually doing the work to get herself there. So if you resonate with the entitled little girl, drop that in the chat. And you might want to take a note of which one you resonate with the most. If you're whatchamacallit, microphone is on. Can you just make sure that you've muted yourself? Thank you, everyone. Let's see, I think I can even mute from here. The next one is the illusionist. This is a very popular one. The illusionist archetype for someone in ED recovery manifests as a mental trap where she convinces herself and sometimes others that she is recovering while still clinging to disordered behaviors, mindsets, and fears. This mentality blocks her from actually recovering in several ways. So, number one, the illusion of control. So I see this as someone telling herself that she's like choosing to eat less or exercise excessively because it's healthy or disordered. So this is where the illusion comes in. Like, no, this is healthy. This is great. This is amazing that I'm doing this. Like, this is healthy, instead of seeing it for what it is, which is a very disordered behavior. She reframes disordered habits as discipline or wellness, preventing her from recognizing harmful behaviors. The illusionist is very performative in her recovery. She learns the right things to say about body positivity. This was totally me in my journey. I'm like, I know everything about intuitive eating and about self-care, but she doesn't really fully practice them. That's where I got blocked for so many years. I could write you a novel on recovery and what it takes and on why food freedom was so important. But at the same time, and in the same breath, I was heavily restricting. So she eats in front of others to appear normal, but will secretly compensate later. That is the big illusion that she kind of portrays to the world. She is very secretive or selective, sorry, in her healing. She will avoid fear foods, but insists she's making progress in others. She keeps certain rituals like cutting food in tiny pieces, eating very slowly, rigid meal timing, while claiming she's flexible. And then she will get into mental gymnastics. She convinces herself that the lingering food rules are reasonable rather than a form of restriction. Who has said that? Like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm just cutting out dairy, gluten, sugar, any processed food, flour, and fruit and dairy and meat. And did I hit all of the food groups already? She will literally claim that that it's reasonable that she continues to restrict. So she'll rationalize skipping meals and over exercising as listening to her body when it's actually avoidance. So the illusionist. The last thing with the illusionist is the denial of struggle. This is huge. And I think everyone in their ED recovery journey eventually hits this right here. She downplays her struggles, making it harder for her to seek or accept help. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. The amount of women that I meet with in the first 2 seconds, it's not that bad. And then we dive into it and I'm like, honey, what is going on here? She will compare herself to others who are worse off to justify not addressing her issues fully. Well, people are like way worse than me. People are like, well, I mean, they're over there. They're doing so bad. I'm totally fine. It's an illusion that we create. And what that does is it's really actually, what's the word here? It's like neglecting the truth of like what's actually going on for you. It's very gaslighty. That's it. It's like super gaslighty. Like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. We gaslight ourselves all the time. So for the illusionist, what she needs to finally do to heal is break free from the illusion. To truly recover, she must break the illusion by acknowledging the lingering disordered pattern she justifies, like being real with herself, embracing discomfort instead of avoiding it with new rationalizations. She needs to seek internal healing rather than external approval. I used to do this all the time. I would make breakfast and then I would go and I would like carry it in my bowl and I would find my mom and be like, Mom, where are you? And then I would like stand there in front of my mom with my bowl of breakfast because I wanted her to think that I was eating. I would literally go and not eat that bowl of food, but that was the illusion that I was creating. Whereas, like, look at me, I eat all the time, Mom. Every single time you see me, I have food in my hand. It was just an illusion, which is just a lie. Um, she needs to let go of the need to appear in control and accept vulnerability. This is going to be a key theme, is the accepting vulnerability. The key also for the illusionist, and this is the number one reason why I tell people it is so radically crucial and important to get support and help in this whole process, is that she needs to get outside support to call her out on her illusions. If you are playing illusions in your mind, your whole recovery process is just going to continually be illusions, and you're never going to actually get challenged with the truth. Therefore, you're going to continue to stay stuck. I think at some point, every single person that goes through an ED is an illusionist. And this is why you have to have someone that's like, whoa, honey, no, that is an illusion. That is not truth. The last thing here, she needs to get absolutely real with herself. So the success rate for an illusionist is pretty low. I would say maybe like 5%, because even if she moves forward, she'll never know if it's the right path because she's used to seeing things differently through the lens of her illusion. So she doesn't know how to trust truth. You need someone to show you truth to get you out of the illusion. Otherwise, you just keep on spinning your own version of what you think recovery is. And that is when people go, I reached recovered, but I'm still stuck. I'm like, well, you didn't reach recovered. You reached an illusion of what recovery is. The warrior. This is the number one that I resonated with. So I'm curious to see how many of you guys resonate with this one. The warrior is like seen in today's day and age, like modern world, as Miss Boss Babe. She is the classic warrior. So the warrior boss babe archetype is someone who approaches eating disorder recovery with the same, oops, sorry, let me go back. With the same kind of hustle culture, pushing mentality, and perfectionism that fueled her disorder in the first place. Let's understand that for a moment. She goes about her recovery process in the same perfectionism and pushing mentality that got her disordered in the first place. It's never going to work if you do this. She treats healing like a grind set. It's a goal to prove herself. It's a goal to crush to prove herself. Instead of embracing the messy, non-linear nature of true recovery, she demands high performance healing. So with the warrior, she is trying to fight her way to better health. And I tell my girls all this time, I'm like, you can't fight yourself to health, just like you can't take the road of distrust and hate for your body and then expect that you end up at this beautiful loving place. It makes no sense. You cannot hate yourself into love. But she tries to fight her way to better health. She believes that if she just pushes hard, that she will eventually get there. And she has a hard time with recovery because she needs things to be hard in her life. Let's get that clear there. She needs things to be hard in her life. So she'll make recovery super hard because that is how she proves herself. Because she doesn't have self-validation, she doesn't have self-worth. So she becomes the warrior to create all these obstacles and these wars that she has to fight and prove herself, because it's the only time that she feels her self-worth. So she uses fear as an activator and has yet to step into love. It's all about conquering and overcoming instead of surrendering. This is huge. She's not surrendering into my intuition, surrendering into love. She is fighting and using fear as an activator to get her to move forward instead of I really truly desire to see me be at a different place. She has a fierce attitude of I can do it on my own and don't need help. Hello, Miss Boss Babe of 2025. She thinks that getting help will show weakness and invalidate her victory. And again, she needs this victory to prove her worth. She has martyr energy. She puts way too much on her plate, so she can be seen externally as strong and then validate her belief that things can only come to her if she struggles. She's fearful of others calling her weak in a big way. Simply put, the warrior is 1,000,000,000% in her masculine energy. She has completely abandoned her femininity, hence why she can't surrender. She is rigid and forceful, which is the opposite of healing. She can't let go into flexibility with food because rigidity is her default setting. So instead of facing uncomfortable emotions or deeply rooted beliefs, she obsesses over optimizing her body and mind, and recovery becomes another achievement rather than genuine healing. I know for so many that has to hit hard. Recovery is another achievement, another thing I can do, another thing I can prove myself with rather than actual genuine healing. If she struggles with eating more or feels guilty after a meal or has a relapse, she internalizes it as failure rather than a natural part of recovery. That's the issue with being a perfectionist. is that if you don't do it perfectly, you stop trying to do it altogether. And she will spiral herself down because she's like, oh, I did one meal wrong. I calculated one meal of my calories and that's it. It's totally completely done. I can never become an intuitive eater. I'm always going to count my calories. And then she gets really mad. She really definitely hits into the shame and the guilt. So again, her mindset is if I'm not healing perfectly, I'm just not flat out healing at all. So she might curate, this is how you might know if you're in the warrior kind of archetype. She might curate an inspirational recovery journey online, posting aesthetic meals and long captions about her growth, but in private, she still fears weight gain and moralizes food choices. She may also be found writing up an Excel spreadsheet for her perfect meals to help her reach recovery. But then when invited to go out to dinner with friends, she will use it as an excuse of like, I have to eat X, Y, and Z on this plan so I can reach my recovery goal. So she doesn't see that eating off the plan and saying yes to going out to dinner is recovery because she's put her recovery in this. It has to look like X, Y, and Z. I have to eat this meal on this day, but no, I'm pushing myself. It has to be this instead of like being able to just say yes to eating with friends and having fun. So here's the thing with the warrior, her success rate. Let's talk about this. She's a warrior. She pushes, she grinds. She will eventually push super hard. Like she can push super hard to get there. But here's the thing, the getting there will not be what she expects. Meaning, she can push super hard to gain weight and to get her period back, but she may still feel super numb and caged and super masculine. Meaning, her there of what recovery looks like, all the metrics, I'm eating enough calories, I'm weighing the right amount, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, at the end of the day, she's going to feel like this is it. This is my recovery. And it's not, in case you're wondering, it's not recovery. So again, she might succeed in getting places, but it doesn't feel good because she still feels rigid, stuck, like she's forcing her way through everything. If you're in my group, if you're in the collective and you're here, you know that I talk a lot about the little princess. So the key attributes of the little princess archetype is that it's a mindset where someone views themselves as fragile. We talked about that today in our group call, that like view of like, I'm fragile. I can't handle all of this. The little princess thinks that she deserves special treatment and is resistant to the hard work of true healing. This archetype might include traits of entitlement, discomfort, not wanting discomfort, avoidance of discomfort, externalizing responsibility, and romanticizing her suffering. Think about the princess that's in the tower. First off, why is she in the tower? She's fragile. She's fragile. That's why they put her in the tower. You can't like, you need to be protected. So we put her all the way up in the tower. And what does she do? It's like, oh, let me just be in my tower here. Let me romanticize the fact that I'm in this tower, that I'm in my suffering. So the key thing that the little princess does is, again, romanticizing suffering instead of healing. So the princess, she might cling to the identity of being tragically delicate, seeing her struggles as proof of her uniqueness rather than something that needs to change. Now, this mentality prevents her from embracing true healing because she subconsciously believes her suffering makes her special and will lead her to being taken care of. The little princess, who's a princess? She doesn't have a kingdom or a queendom. She doesn't have resources. She doesn't have self-confidence. She needs to be taken care of, is her thoughts. So the little princess will avoid responsibility for recovery. She may expect others, that could be family, friends, a therapist, to fix her without actually engaging in the difficult daily choices needing to recover. Recovery requires, at the end of the day, personal accountability, and waiting to be rescued only prolongs suffering. She will have a reliance on external validation. She's looking at like, what should I eat all of the time? What should I eat? Tell me, should I not exercise? What do I need to do? She's dependent on others guiding her every step. Now, it's okay to get guidance on steps, but it's like she can't move forward unless someone tells her that step. Like, I sometimes have clients that will wait the whole week before we get to our session and go, well, should I add those carbs in? And I'm like, you waited the whole week to ask me that question? We just wasted a whole week of moving forward because you needed to get my okay. She's filled with self-doubt and self-criticism as she hasn't yet built her sense of self-worthiness yet. Think about a princess. She's wearing a scratchy dress with plastic shoes, a fake tiara. She hasn't stepped into her power yet, and it shows in her recovery. So she will refuse to challenge disordered thoughts. I need to move some things out of the way for me here. A princess in this mindset might reject therapy, meal support, or coaching because she sees them as too harsh or unfair. They were so mean. They told me that I needed to eat carbs. They're so mean. She avoids the discomfort necessary for growth. And instead of facing fears around food and body image, she may demand endless reassurance while resisting change. She wants to constantly hear that she's pretty and good enough without hearing the truth of you're completely living out of your power and hiding in life. She can't hear that. The little princess doesn't want to hear that. She wants you to consistently just congratulate her. So she will weaponize fragility to avoid growth. So vulnerability is valid in recovery. We need vulnerability. We're going to talk about it, but the princess might exaggerate her own fragility to manipulate situations, using her illness as leverage to avoid responsibilities, evade conflict, or keep others overly protective and enabling. I've seen this as I'm just going to completely cry when anyone says I need to do something different. So the little princess seeks validation over true healing. Recovery requires internal motivation, but if the princess mentality is at play, then we may be more focused on being seen as struggling rather than actually working towards freedom. So this can show up as curating an image of suffering instead of doing the quiet, unseen work of true recovery. So the princess needs to get out of passivity and needs to step up in courage and ownership. She needs to own her life, who she is. She needs to grow up, right? She needs to see that real strength will never be found in staying stuck in disordered behaviors. Strength isn't going to be found in her continually being fragile. So overall, the princess is not well resourced. She's limited in her tools and skill sets. She lacks in self-confidence. She refuses mentorship, and all of this blocks her growth and progression forward. So the success rate here, she will take some steps forward, but then she will find comfort in the destructive fantasy she tells herself that she is fragile, weak, and needs to be locked up in her tower to protect herself from the evil in the world or from showing up and doing work. It's just the reality of it. I see the little princess all of the time. A key one, and I'm moving through these fast, but I want to make sure we get through these. But if you like resonate with any of this, like drop it in the chats here. If you resonate with like that little princess. The damsel in distress. Ooh, this one is interesting. The damsel in distress is waiting for a savior to come and take all of her problems away. She wants someone else to do the work for her. Here's the key here, though, with the damsel in distress. I've seen this a lot in my coaching. Underneath this desire for someone else to step in and do the work is a belief that she can't do it on her own. And let's be very clear here. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe in your ability, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that can do it. Yes, we need support, we need the right guidance, we need all of that, but you at the end of the day are the only one that can do it. So she falls into victim mentality. I'm a victim, I can't do it. I need someone else to do it for me. So recovery is all about self-empowerment. Thus, she'll have a hard time getting to recovery because her whole premise is that she isn't powerful. That's why she needs a savior. So you must step into the victor mentality in order to recover. She will never recover because she isn't thinking she's a victor. Rather, she needs someone else to be that for her. So she forgoes trying to find and create a solution because she thinks she's too dumb, she's too weak. She's the damsel in distress. Help me. She keeps on asking for permission to do things in recovery because she doesn't believe in herself. Again, it's the incessant questions of, should I stop working now? Is this the right breakfast? She can't trust herself. The damsel is in distress. This is the whole point. The distress in this case is the struggle with food, struggle with the body image and the mental health. And then the rescuer here for her is something outside of her. This could be external support, therapists, loved ones, coaches. But the danger here is not the support, it's that she relies on them too much, to the point that she doesn't understand that she needs to be her own hero. So an example here is like she won't take a step forward until someone else does it for her. So she never validates herself nor chooses her recovery on her own. I remember I knew I was recovered when I was walking by a coffee shop one day and I was like, I feel like a chocolate croissant. And I just went and got myself a chocolate croissant. No one else needed to do it for me because I was at the point in recovery where I was like, I'll eat the chocolate croissant if someone else eats the chocolate croissant with me and tells me that it's okay and does it with me. Pretty much I wanted to, if you look at this picture here, I wanted to hop on the horse. This is the problem though. There is a false hero here that can happen. There can be a rescuer who isn't actually helpful. I see this a lot with toxic diet culture. Oh, no, this is the diet I need to do to get my period back. And we like get so hooked up on that, but it's actually just a very restrictive diet that isn't helpful. Unfortunately, harmful family members. They can be the false rescuer. And then the false hero here is their own disordered thoughts. So this is the danger of waiting for a rescuer, is she will want the support so much that she doesn't have discernment as to what is right for her. She has no internal power outside of herself.
Okay. Yeah.
Lisa, I think Lisa, if you hear me, I think your mic is on. If you can mute that, Lisa. I can mute on this side. There you go. So again, think about a woman being in a tower waiting to be rescued. The second someone climbs up to her tower, she's jumping on his horse without asking, is that the right thing? I see this a lot with women who are like, I lost my period. I haven't had it for 12 years. I went to the gynecologist told me to get on birth control, and we just jump on the horse. Or maybe we like follow a guru online who's telling us that we need a seed cycle. And then we get so caught up in that and like, this is what we need to do. And it's a false hero. So the true rescuer here is that the character realizes, so the damsel in distress realizes that no knight in shining armor can truly save them. They have to choose recovery themselves with guidance from real support systems that can help them help themselves and get to the right place. So think of it this way. This is how the damsel in distress needs to now move. Someone can come and help you unlock the door. That's important. The right support's important. They can help you unlock the door to the tower, but you have to get on your own horse and ride. You can ride together next to each other, but you must be on your own horse. So the success rate here, no matter how amazing her prince is, she'll find herself eventually relapsing time and time again because she can't just ride on someone else's horse to the land of recovery and call herself recovered. She needs to ride her own horse into the land of recovery. Does that make sense, guys? Like, you need to, yes, learn everything, get help, get support, have someone there. But at the end of the day, you can't expect someone else to do it for you, because that is a belief that you can't do it. And that is what we need to stop believing about ourselves, that we're weak, that we're fragile, that we're not good enough, that we can't figure it out on our own. That's not confidence. The next archetype here is the spiritual girly. I see this a lot. See all of these a lot. And again, you can be a mixture of multiple of these. The key attributes for the spiritual girly, she sees herself as so deeply evolved, but her mentality secretly sabotages true recovery as she takes no accountability for her role in things. So I will see the spiritual girly rebrand restriction as intuitive eating or high vibration. It looks like this. She claims she's just listening to her body. But then when I dive into asking her, well, what is your body craving? Green juice and raw almonds and like Brussels sprouts. I'm like, huh, interesting. That's very interesting. She will label foods as like high vibe or low frequency. Oh no, I can't possibly have that cupcake. It's low vibe. And I want to recover. I want to be in high vibe. I really respect myself so much. I got to be in high vibe. So she turns nutrition into this like moral hierarchy. Part of recovery is like breaking this down and seeing food as just food and stopping this game of like, I'm morally better and more like greater than thou if I eat in this way. So if she's feeling like weak or lightheaded, the spiritual girly will be like, oh, I'm just detoxing, rather than like acknowledging the fact that like you're malnourished and your blood sugar is way too low. She will use spiritual bypassing to avoid hard work. This is huge. She'll convince herself she doesn't need therapy or support because she's raising her own consciousness. She treats recovery as a mindset issue rather than something requiring real behavioral change. She's too up in the cloud. She's too up in her head. She thinks if she journals and manifests enough, it will just click without facing discomfort. I love manifestation, love it. I think we create our whole life. Our words, our thoughts are so powerful. But when we just have a million post-it notes, look, I got like post-it notes here. I love post-it notes, they're great. But if we just had a million post-it notes and we just looked at it and we're like, I'm amazing, I'm healed, I'm great. Like, okay, that's cool. I love that. And if there's no action, there's no action. So she believes clean eating is her higher calling. She convinces herself that food sensitivities just happen. She convinces herself, sorry, that she has food sensitivities, and it just like happens to align with diet trends. Like, oh wow, you're gluten-free. That's funny. She avoids recovery challenges by calling certain foods toxic or out of alignment. I can't eat pizza. It's out of alignment with me. This is where she gets blocked in her recovery. So she frames eating more as clogging her intuition instead of a necessary part of healing. The good thing about this is that the spiritual girly can heal, but she can only heal when she recognizes that true healing requires discomfort, not just affirmations and high vibe foods. She's got to get down and dirty and eat the cupcake. She's got to like bring it down to earth here. She can heal if she understands that she doesn't need to be the most enlightened or perfect in her recovery. She just needs to be human. And accepting that rest and nourishment and imperfection, accepting that things get messy, are part of the real spiritual journey. Wait, that's huge. Let's go back to that. Things being messy, things being imperfect is the real spiritual journey here. So the success rate with her, she will forever be trapped in her high vibeness that she never truly sees the wholeness of who she is, an imperfect, messy human being. Isn't that what all got us here? Is us not being able to accept the fact that we're imperfect and we're messy human beings, and then we try to be perfect with food and body. She's not going to heal because the imperfectness of her doesn't vibe with her spiritualness. How are we doing, guys? Check in here. Sky, I see you. You doing good? Does this make sense? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, if I can get like heart, yes, this makes sense. I see me in this in the chats. The lone wolf. I also had this for 11 years. The moment I got out of lone wolf is the moment I truly recovered. So listen up. Lone wolfing is not supporting you at all in recovery. It's a toxic mentality in recovery that manifests as a deep-seated belief that we must go through the entire healing process alone, without support, without guidance, or without vulnerability. That's usually why we want to do it alone, is because we don't want to be vulnerable. The only way to actually get through recovery is to start being vulnerable. So the mindset is often fueled by perfectionism, a fuck ton of shame, and a warped sense of self-reliance. A warped sense of self-reliance. Think about this, guys. If we think about humans in civilization, when have we ever been alone and done things alone? If you were alone in nature, you're dead. We needed a whole community of people. We needed some people hunting. We needed some people gathering. We needed some people taking care of the children. We needed some people building the houses. Never, ever, ever in nature would you be asked to do life alone. So this whole independent self-reliance, it just literally misses the mark. This creates multiple roadblocks to true recovery, and this is how it plays out. She rejects help and support. So the person views asking for support, the lone wolfer views asking for support as a sign of weakness, believing that they should be strong enough to fix themselves. This is what kept me not getting support for so long. I should be able to do it. Why can't I? Once I went through recovery, I realized, oh, because you're not supposed to do this alone. Because being a happy, healthy human being doesn't mean being alone. So therapy, support groups, coaching, or even just opening up to close friends feels like an unnecessary crutch leading to isolation. They will resist medical or nutritional guidance, thinking I can figure this out on my own. So hyper independent healing, which really just isn't healing at all. The lone wolf will create their own recovery plan. You guys, listen to this. When you create your own recovery plan, this is like the hindrance with that is it might still be heavily influenced by disordered thoughts rather than true healing. Let's go back to the illusionist. If you're in all of these illusions and then you ask the illusionist to create a plan for recovery, it's just like you can't do that because they can't see the truth. Laura says hitting close to home. Yeah. So they may try to heal intellectually rather than emotionally. They will consume books, research, and recovery content, but they never actually apply it in a way that forces them to sit with discomfort. Have you noticed that nearly all of them just don't want to sit in discomfort? This is how they all play into each other, because doesn't that remind you of the entitled child? This should be easy. They set rigid, unrealistic expectations for their own progress, and if they fail, it reinforces self-hatred rather than self-reliance, or rather than resilience, sorry, because they are doing it on their own and they wallow in this energy for sometimes years. So if I don't do it and I'm just doing it on my own and I get in a bunch of shame, then I will just wallow in that shame for years. I don't have any of the tools to get out. Why? Because I refuse to ask for help. So the problem with the lone wolfer is that there's no external perspective to challenge the eating disorder. Eating disorders thrive in isolation. Without outside input, disordered thoughts remain. The person justifies disordered behaviors as not that bad or convinces themselves that they are in recovery when they're still engaging in restriction, binging, or other harmful behaviors. And because they don't get outside support, they won't really see why this is super bad. This is when we go, oh, it's fine. It's not that bad. I'm totally fine. Yeah, you're totally fine until you get asked to maybe go on a 3-day vacation with some friends and you realize, holy crap, I can't even not exercise. Or I'm doing all these things. And this is why it doesn't work to lone wolf, because you never get challenged to see how the behaviors you have do not work in real life. Everyone can live in their eating disorder in isolation. I want you to hear that. You can get away with everything in isolation. The second we are with family, with friends, we are asked anything and we have to show up in life, that's when you realize, crap, this eating disorder thing doesn't work. It blocks me from all of these things. So the lone wolfer is going to see accountability from others as control or intrusion rather than necessary guidance. There's a fear of vulnerability and connection. So recovery here requires emotional openness, like acknowledging your pain, acknowledging the shame and the fears and the anxiety. But the lone wolf archetype avoids this at all cost. Like, no, we're not going there. No emotion. They fear being a burden, so they downplay struggles or they pretend they're fine even when they're not. And meaningful relationships are hindered because they struggle to let people see their messiness. For the lone wolfer to break free, again, every single one of these archetypes can break free. To break free means learning that strength isn't about doing it alone. It's about allowing yourself to be seen, supported, and imperfect in healing. It's about vulnerability. Because when I'm vulnerable, when I'm open, when I can share, that means I have released the shame of it, which means that I can now move through it. So the success rate.
What is it?
Did someone say something?
Like,
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, make sure you're on mute. The success rate here is because she isolates herself. She never reaches out when things get bad, meaning no one will ever be able to give her the guidance she needs to get out of it. So she will panic that she's trapped, but in reality, she just needs to get support. When you're doing it alone, you're not going to know everything. How would you know it? You haven't been through it. You haven't done it. So you will get really mad at yourself why can't I figure this out? And then you'll spiral into panic. When in all reality, you just need to ask someone who knows what they are talking about and who has been through it. That's all you need to do. In my collective at the very beginning, I share that like recovery is kind of like you're in this box in the corner of the room and like you're isolated in this little box and you think the whole time that like the box is sealed shut, and in all reality, in order to get out of the box, which is the prison of the eating disorder, you just need to push up. It's open. It was never closed. You were never trapped in the box. The lone wolfer is going to feel like they're always trapped in the box. I want to hear in the chats if you guys have ever felt like you're the unicorn in recovery. This is so popular that they will even mention it in traditional approaches to recovery. The unicorn. So the unicorn believes that she is a special case, somehow exempt from the normal rules of recovery, immune to full healing, or uniquely flawed in a way that makes recovery impossible. I didn't even need to like write this, but like I did. This is a major roadblock in several ways. Tori said, lone wolf, unicorn warrior, I'm a Frankenstein. Okay, we're all of it. So, belief in being the exception. Someone with this mentality might think recovery works for others, but it doesn't work for me. I always laugh and I'm like, wow, you guys think so highly of yourselves that you think that like you're the one person that's different in this world. It'd be like me being like, gravity just doesn't work for me. I'm like, wow, really? All the 8 trillion people in the world and gravity doesn't work for you? So this can lead to resisting treatment strategies, dismissing support, and staying stuck in disordered behaviors because they believe their case is different or unsolvable. It runs deep, this belief. It's like, gosh, it's like, how wrong and bad do you think you are that you're unsolvable? That's how deep the like feelings of unworthiness go in eating disorders, where you go, I'm just completely broken. Nothing can change. When in reality, the like nature of life is change and everything is solvable. You are not broken to the extent that we cannot heal. Healing is simply tapping back into your heart. Everyone has that ability. No one's stopping you from that. So they cling onto the identity of specialness. So someone who feels like they're the unicorn, they may unconsciously hold on to their eating disorder because it makes them feel unique or gives them a sense of identity. And that's why they don't move out of it, because they're like, this is my identity. I'm so unique. I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't want to be known for just like the person who can eat watermelon slices on her birthday and not cake. I just feel like, why? Why? I can find how to be special in other ways. So recovery might feel threatening because it means losing this perceived uniqueness. They have a huge fear of being ordinary or unremarkable. So if someone has tied their worth to their eating disorder, i.e., being like the smallest or most disciplined or the sickest, letting go of it can feel like losing what makes them special. The sad part about this here is that you finally understand how special of a human being you are once you get to recovery. When you are a recovered, well-nourished woman who like can honor her body and respect her body, like you will finally understand how beautiful and unique and special every single human being is, including you. And you don't need to be the sickest or the most disciplined or the smallest in order to claim that title of there being something so beautiful and unique about you. The unicorn will reject recovery because it feels too normal. Recovery is like, yeah, like let's just eat pizza on a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Like that's like recovery, regular meals. It might involve, some weight gain. It might involve engaging in just everyday life. If someone sees this as boring or not special enough, they might resist fully embracing the process. They make it like way more difficult than it needs to be. Perfectionism and the recovery unicorn. So some people will believe that if they can't recover perfectly or in a way that sets them apart, like if they can't do it faster with no setbacks or with a special diet, then they shouldn't try at all. So this black and white thinking can cause them to sabotage process when recovery doesn't match their unrealistic expectations. They will romanticize their suffering. It's the weirdest thing, but we do this. It's actually like the most fucked up thing if you think about it. We romanticize our suffering all the time. So the unicorn will believe that their struggles are deeper or more profound than others, making it difficult to accept that recovery requires the same basic steps for everyone. Again, they believe that their struggles are so deep, so profound, so like nuanced that they can't accept the fact that recovery is so freaking damn simple. Eat enough, rest, have some self-compassion. I think I can boil it down to those three things. So how does the unicorn break free, sorry? They need to recognize that no one is beyond recovery, that every brain and body is capable of healing. They need to understand that being special is not about suffering, but about living fully and authentically. Like that's how you prove your specialness. Be authentic, be real, be you. Trust me, you will naturally be special. You don't need the eating disorder, the thinness, all of this stuff to try and make you feel special. So letting go of the idea that recovery has to look unique and instead embracing the messy, imperfect, but real process of healing. Doesn't have to be some complicated thing. Finding new ways to feel unique outside of the eating disorder. So get into like art, be creative, get into relationships, have passions, like contribute to the world, feel your uniqueness in that way. So the success rate here, I laughed when I made this. They're so special that they'll never give recovery a go. We're getting to the last two, guys. These are the most important here. Again, I said that there's only one, and I stand by that. There's only one that will get to full recovery. The queen is so damn close. She will get there, but she will falter in some ways. But like, if you can get into queen, you're so close. So the queen mentality is going to be different than the little princess mentality that we talked about in the beginning. The queen mentality is about embracing self-worth, resilience, and empowerment while rejecting the limiting beliefs that fuel disordered eating. It's a mindset that transforms recovery from a struggle into a regal reclamation of her body, mind, and soul. Again, I said this one is super close, so this mentality supports recovery in a lot of ways. Number one, how it supports is she honors her body like a sacred temple. A queen doesn't starve her kingdom or her queendom. She nourishes it. She understands that her body is her empire and it deserves to be fueled with love, care, and sustenance. Instead of punishing her body, she listens to its needs, recognizing that food is not the enemy, but a royal offering. Right? She sees it as sacred, as beautiful, a royal offering. That's what food is to her body. Could you imagine if you sat down to a meal and it felt like a royal offering? Like how special and beautiful the food is. Instead, we're like, is that organic non-GMO corn? And is that like I can't eat that. Was that canola oil in there? Oh no, like we totally ruin the magic and sacredness of the food when we get in our mind about it. So what I love about the queen is that she reclaims her power from diet culture. Queens don't bow to trends or external validation. This is the big difference between a queen and a princess. Princess, remember in the beginning, it's all about the external validation. Love me, like me, tell me I'm pretty. Do you ever see a queen doing that? A queen walks in the room and you shut your mouth and you bow. Why? Because she commands respect. Why? Because she has respect for herself. She doesn't bow to trends or external validation, meaning she is not looking for external trends. What's the newest way my body should look? Because that has become a trend now. She doesn't look to that. She's like, I'm going to respect the fuck out of my body. Queens, well, okay, yeah, we'll start here actually. She sees through the toxic beauty standards and reclaims her autonomy over her body. So when intrusive thoughts tell her she's not enough, she reminds herself that her worth is non-negotiable. It was never tied to a number and it never was in question. She chooses self-compassion over self-criticism. This is huge. So when a queen speaks to themselves with kindness, she speaks to herself with compassion. She speaks to herself with love, not cruelty. So instead of self-shaming, she practices radical self-compassion and reminds herself that recovery is not linear, but every step forward is a victory. Some of the archetypes, every step backwards was like a doomsday thing. She's actually more focused on how do I praise the good things that are happening, no matter how small. So she doesn't let setbacks define her. She rises with even more grace. She surrounds herself with a loyal court. So queens don't rule alone. Could you imagine a queen with a whole kingdom trying to rule alone? She curates a support system of friendships, trusted professionals, and safe spaces that uplift her recovery journey. When she's struggling, she allows herself to receive help because true strength lies in vulnerability. She searches for a group of women to help her heal because as a queen, she knows that advice, support, and love from other women is beyond necessary. She no longer equates control with strength. Instead, she sees trusting her body, eating intuitively, and resting as powerful acts of self-respect. She knows that being in tune with her emotions rather than suppressing them is a sign of true emotional sovereignty. And she will celebrate all forms of progress. So every meal eaten, every negative thought challenged, every moment of self-care is a royal triumph in her healing. She doesn't just aim for getting by, she aims for a life of joy, connection, and abundance. As I said, the success rate extraordinarily high here. She's taking responsibility for life and finally seeking internal validation, not external. She's resourced and she gets the support she needs, and that's what makes her highly successful. And we've made it, you guys, to the last archetype. I didn't know what to name this archetype, and I landed with her. Just her, like that girl. This is the one and only archetype that will lead to full healing. So, oh my gosh, pay attention. If you can step into this, if you can embody all of these things, you're already there. No one on this call, I can promise you, is there yet. Because if you were, you want to be here. So let's learn from her. The archetype of her is all about self-trust, nourishment, and true well-being, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and energetically. This is a mindset that actively supports recovery by reinforcing safety around food, rejecting restriction, accepting abundance, and embracing her role in life and stepping into being a woman of impact. She's no longer the little princess or the entitled child or the damsel in distress. She's like, I'm a woman who is here to create impact in the world. She sees her value and her worth and how important she is. So she believes food is her ally, not the enemy. This is the biggest shift. She sees food as a source of energy, pleasure. Oh my gosh, yes, food needs to be pleasurable, and nourishment, not something to be feared or controlled. She rejects guilt around eating and chooses abundance over scarcity. She's in the abundance mindset. She reminds herself that eating enough is a requirement for healing, not an option. She trusts her body and is patient with it. So she knows that her body is healing. And that takes time. Remember the entitled child in the beginning? It's like, it's not working. I'm like, wow, you've eaten one food or you've taken one day of rest. That's entitlement here. She knows this is going to take a hot moment. So she doesn't panic over body changes. Instead, she leans into self-compassion and reminds herself that a well-fed body is a stronger, more free body. She listens to her hunger and fullness cues without judgment, knowing that trusting her body is a skill that will take time to rebuild. She focuses, oh, this is so important, guys. She focuses on what she gains, not what she loses. Have you ever heard the whole thing? Like, I was too focused, sorry, on how green my grass was to notice if yours was any greener. I love that quote. And this is what she does. She's like, I'm not focused on the things that I'm losing. I'm focusing on what I'm gaining here. So instead of mourning an unrealistic ideal of her body, she celebrates energy to do things she loves, mental clarity and freedom from obsessive thoughts, deep connections with people without food anxiety, a stronger, more resilient body. She just celebrates the fuck out of that. She's not even focused on what she lost. Everything over there, trust me, she is more than happy to lose. I will gladly lose the lack of confidence and the wanting to play small in life. So she reclaims her pleasure in eating. She savors food without guilt and enjoys meals fully. She allows herself to eat what sounds good without rigid rules. And she recognizes that eating is not just about nutrients, it's about connection, it's about joy, and it's about life itself and accepting life fully. She prioritizes fullness in all areas of her life. She doesn't just want to be not sick. She wants to be vibrant. She wants to be fulfilled. She wants to be magnetic, radiant, and fully engaged in her life. She sets mad boundaries with diet culture. Like her Instagram, no, we are not watching what I eat in the day videos. She sets boundaries with it. She surrounds herself with supportive, recovery aligned messages and people. She practices self-care beyond food and exercise, embracing hobbies, creativity, and rest. Do you like get this? Where it's like she's focused so outward on just like engaging in life again. She doesn't do it alone. She walks behind someone else's footsteps. Getting support is her like superpower for getting where she wants to go faster and making sure that she's being called out for any distortion in her mindset that still exists. Remember the illusionist? The illusionist was never going to get to fully recovered because of the damn illusions in their mind. Her, the archetype that fully recovers, is like, I will get the support I need so that I can be called out on the distortions that I have. She surrenders and opens up to this level of intimate support. She's not threatened by it. She sees that it's the only way to get her to where she wants to go. She understands that deep self-work is needed. Self-development is a key for her to move through fear, and holding space for the little girl within her is huge in this evolution. And she's radically honest. She doesn't lie to herself and say everything is okay. She honors what's going well and what's not. She sees through the illusion that the ED set up for her, trying to get her to believe all is well. Not that bad. She sees through the illusion. She practices loving self-awareness, not shameful self-awareness. And she connects to her feminine energy. And this is something that we don't talk about in traditional treatment. This is, I think, one of the most huge parts and aspects of recovery is tapping back into your feminine energy. She aims to build a solid foundation of trust with her body and let her intuition start to guide. And she surrounds herself with other women and receives nourishment from their presence in their life. She doesn't see them as, gosh, I feel like it was always competition, but she doesn't see it as that anymore. Now she's like, oh my gosh, the beautiful wisdom of other women, I need it. This is the last aspect of her. She burned the motherfucker boats. She burned them. You know, when people are like, oh, it's okay. If you hate it, you can just go back. No, she burned those boats. She's not going back to that island. There's no going back. She's so clear that she is only finding a path forward. That path forward is going to be her diving into more love for herself, cultivating more patience, more acceptance, more health. She doesn't play the games of if I hate it, I'll go back. The only pathway in her mind, and this is what makes her successful, is that she is like, there is no way in hell that I'm going back. So it gets her recovered. She's like, this, okay, I move forward. This sucks. Okay, how do I move forward more? Not how do I move back? It's how do I then learn more things to move forward? She sees her value in doing so. She knows that she is here to be a positive light to the world, and that her playing small and hiding her light behind obsessive food thoughts is just not an option. Why this mentality is powerful for recovery. Instead of focusing on getting rid of disordered behaviors, this mindset actively replaces them with self-trust, abundance, and joy. It allows her to make choices from love, not from fear, which is in your mind. It allows you to move through discomfort with self-compassion. She can stay grounded in her deeper values of freedom, connection, vitality, femininity. She feels safe around food and in her body and calls out the illusion of safety that she thought existed in her smallness and restriction. So this isn't about not having an eating disorder. This is about living fully, unapologetically, and well-nourished in every sense. The success rate, as I said, 100%. You do all these things, trust me, 100%. Guarantee it. I will slap a guarantee on that. Because she chooses to see her worth and value, she knows that recovery is the only option. Her light cannot stay hidden. Can't. So she is willing to do anything to get there. She'll go through the doubts. She'll go through the weight gain. She'll go through the uncomfortability. She'll invest her money. She'll devote her energy. She'll get messy and stand up over and over and over and over and over again. She's a winner every time. I'm going to dive into a Q&A if anyone has questions. I know a lot of people, there's about 150 people who are going to be watching the recording. I know this was late for a lot of people in Europe. The Get Your Flow On Collective is the space that I created for her to fully recover. The place for her to finally stand up and believe in herself and connect to who she is. It's comprised of 4 parts. Support via the community. A lot of the girls in the community were here tonight. Weekly group coaching calls and hot seat calls. Private support with me in your back pocket. Someone who's been through this process. And a badass curriculum that's going to take you through this process of discovering yourself and stepping into your power.